right now.
Sure.
But after 37 years, you know what to do. We'll just have you give your statement.
You think I've done this?
We all know you
before?
don't talk in short sound bites, so get ready.
I haven't done this exact one.
That's right. This will be your first one. I just want to get some sound out of myself here.
I didn't know we'd make such a big deal, but I could just walk away and it would be no big deal. Well, I honestly, Tom and everybody in here, I think the first thing is to share my gratefulness and thankfulness to everybody that let this be possible. It was I was living the dream. It's a dream of my life. I felt like coaching would be my calling, probably my freshman year of college at Eastern Washington. I really thought that's where I was going, and not to dwell the story real long, but I really thought I was going to be a high school football coach. And I got to the first little high school I'm teaching, and the superintendent says, "Oh, by the way, whoever gets this football coaching job's got to coach track." And I was really interested in that because my wife was a national level track and field athlete at that point in time. So probably I really owe an awful lot to Terry in that regard, and that I really had an interest in track at that first job. We won 2 football games and lost 6, and they were ready to run Terry and I out of town. But we won the county track championship, won the district championship, and went on and got 3rd in the state meet the first year. Nobody had any idea what we were doing. We were just having fun with the kids. They maybe seen a little track on Wide World of Sports or something, but they weren't authorities on it. But they were authorities on football and basketball, let me tell you. They knew everything that I should have done and that I didn't do. But so while I'm on that, you know, a lot, the first one I really want to thank's in a room back here. She's going to leave in a little bit. But none of this would have been possible without Terry. And some of you are coaches in here, you know, it's not quite 24/7, but it's not very damn far away from 24/7 if you're really into it. And she put up with that for 50 years. And she and our daughter Kim and our son Pat, they didn't have a full-time dad. And that's probably one of the regrets I have, that I probably didn't do what I should have done there. But I couldn't have done it without him. So Terry, thanks for letting me live the dream. It's been a great ride. So many other people to thank. Jenny Hunt's not in the room. She hired me. Rob Stark was on the search committee. I think he really helped. I had a little bit of a relationship with Rob, and Neil Eliason was a former track coach, and he had a lot of influence on Jenny, and long story short, I got hired. And I'll bet Jenny never dreamed in the world that I would be here up to this point. And we always remind each other of that when we see each other at the different athletic events. But certainly, I owe a lot to that search committee, that they believed in me enough to give me an opportunity to come in here as a women's track coach. And then ultimately, Rob Stark, who was our men's coach, ultimately had a real bout with, I can't even say it now, but with MS, thanks Tara, and eventually was not able to continue on, and so the programs are merged together, and I've been kind of at the head of the ship ever since then. But with that, it could have never been possible without Tom Idle and Lyle Weese. Mike Kerrigan, who just retired a year ago, was with me the whole way. He was here before I got here. Tom was an athlete here. Came back to coach at Montana State, handles our jumping events, has done an outstanding job. Mike, as most of you know in the room, was absolutely phenomenal with the throwing events. And Lyle Weese, who I had the privilege to coach, came back here 10, 12 years ago, volunteered to start with, and then became a part-time coach and then a full-time coach, and he has done an absolutely terrific job with our distance running group. And I think one of the things that I've been so fortunate to have is have a staff that stayed with me the whole time. They weren't trying to move up or go somewhere else. Montana State was where they wanted to be. So we all had that in common. And just recently, we got to add another one of our greats in Jen Allen, one of our all-time greatest throwers ever. Mike mentored her for a year and a half. She has picked up right off where Coach Kerrigan left off. I think Jen's in that same mold with the rest of us. She's not trying to go anywhere but Montana State. I think all of us bleed blue and gold, literally and figuratively. It's been something that we've done together as a team, and I've been really fortunate to be part of that team. So thank you, coaching staff. I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say something about the unsung heroes. And boy, they make up the whole team, because without those administrative assistants that handle all that frontline stuff that comes through that office up there, we wouldn't be able to do what we get to do. We just can't do it without them. I think of all the people up there that have worked in those roles over the years. They were such a significant part of the team, and particularly for a guy that had no technology training. I mean, I couldn't even turn a computer on until probably 15 years ago. I didn't want to turn one on. I drug my heels with it, and I realized if I don't get with it, I'm not going to be coaching, because things have changed so much. I have seen so much change since the 70s when I started coaching high school track. It has really, really changed. And I tried to change with it. Fortunately, I've had some assistants who were pretty tech savvy that could bail me out at times. Coach Weese, thank you so much, and Tom, and now Jen. Mike Kerrigan used to come in and pull me out of the ditch and get me up and running, and now Jen is doing that, and Lyle's doing that, and Tom. But together, I think we've done it collectively together. But back to the unsung heroes, and you go to the equipment room, you go to the training room, you go to our academic center. These are all the people that make this happen for our student athletes. And certainly, they can't get it done without administration. I've been through several presidents in my time here. I've been through several athletic directors in my time. And we have recently enjoyed probably more support the past 15 years from athletics administration and the president across the campus. And we're certainly grateful for that. But I would be really remiss if I didn't thank a special group of people that was born out of an alumni meeting. When Rob Stark retired, we had a special thing here for Rob, and a lot of the old guard showed up and they said, Coach, you know, we got together in a meeting afterwards. What we got to do is we got to create an organization. We got to get a group. And out of that conversation emerged the Bobcat Track and Field Association in 2001. And without their support, we wouldn't have the program and the student athlete experience that our kids get to share today without that group. I mean, this is the second outdoor track renovation that's occurred. They put in the seating out there and a storage building that cost about another $1 million. Just put a brand new track in downstairs, Mondo Super X surface, state-of-the-art surface. Now doing this track outside, renovated our women's locker room, put in the Bobcat Plaza. I mean, that group has raised up over $8 million since we started that group in 2001. And it's not just the money that they raise, but it's the passion and the enthusiasm and the support that they have for our kids. They have been really instrumental. And when I came into coaching, I never thought fundraising was going to be a part of it. And I realized there's no way that I could do it, but maybe I could get a team that could do it together. And we've got that done. We have outstanding track and field facilities. I'm really hoping that all of you would come back when that outdoor track facility is done and see what that is going to look like. That is going to be a state-of-the-art facility with a big video board on there with slow-mo replay, instant replay, current replay, automatic timing results coming right up on the board as soon as they cross the finish line. It is going to really be a special area. And so I'm really excited about that. I'm looking forward to see that project get through here this summer. We're going to finish it sometime this summer when the rain stops. Usually that's somewhere in July, and they'll get back on it and get it going. Right now I want to say that I really think our athletics department is under great leadership. Leon Costello has just done a really great job here in leading the way, and I'm certainly grateful for all the support that he has provided for me and for our staff. We just could never do it without administrators really being involved in our program, taking an interest in our kids, knowing who they are, taking time to visit with them in the hallway, saying hello to them and asking how it's going. Dan Davies, you've been absolutely awesome to work with. Dan's been my primary administrator over the years, has been absolutely great. Tom Schultz, Bill Lamberty, and currently Andrew Pedersen, sports information. It was always out there. Pedersen has just done an outstanding job here this last couple of years and really covered Bobcat track and field really well. And we're really appreciative of that. So more than anything, I just have an emotion of gratitude and thankfulness.
So Coach Kennedy, a staple here at Montana State. Can you talk about where the track program is now moving forward?
Yeah, I think staple, I'll use the word legend just because of how many years he's been doing it, and the program he's been able to build here, I think leads us right into the national search. I think we provide a lot of things with the community, with Bozeman, with the altitude, being able to train at this level, but also with the success that the track programs have seen. I think there are going to be a lot of interested candidates, and it'll be fun, to go through a process and find the right fit for Montana State, built on the values that Dale has instilled in all of his student athletes.
And how would you describe his coaching style and kind of the breadth of his program and his time here at Montana State?
Yeah, he's always been a team-first guy. If you listen to his comments in there, he thanked everybody except himself. And he's very humble, but he was such a team player for us, and he's the first one to volunteer for any extracurricular activities that we're doing, whether they're fundraising or going to events or just talking to people, and that's really truly what he was all about. But if you look at everything he's done from as far as the athletic success, and if you look at what his student athletes did in the classroom and in community service, he really taught them how to be a well-rounded human being. And so athletics played a part in that, but it wasn't the only part. He also did in the classroom and in community service projects.
Do you think that moving forward that will be one of the main characteristics you'll look for in a coach, is someone who has the full breadth of coaching potential on and off the field?
For sure. I think that's who we look for with all of our programs. I think Dale did it to the nth degree. He's probably one of the best at doing that. We're seeing a lot of our coaches doing that same thing. But yeah, it truly is going to be part of something we look. It's just the fabric of how we're made here at Montana State. It's something that we expect, and I think we'll have a lot of coaches that are interested in continuing that legacy that Dale has built.
A lot of tenured coaches that under him, his assistants, some here for 30-some years. Do you hope to keep some of those guys intact as part of the coaching search?
For sure. And it's our goal to keep them all intact here for at least the next year with the contracts that we have in place. And like I said, we'll have an open search, a national search, and I'm assuming that some of them are going to be interested in the position, and if so, we'll work through our way through that process. But yes, obviously he's leaned heavily on his assistant coaches. They've done an outstanding job. We'd want nothing more than to have them to still be part of the program, and if they're interested, be part of the process.
When you were looking at Montana State to become the athletic director, do you look at a program like track and field and the consistency there and really lean on that as something when you start being the athletic director?
I think for sure. I think you look at some of the coaches that were in place, some of the newer ones, some of the the legends like Dale, and really to see kind of what they've been able to accomplish to keep them here. Somebody like Dale for so long, and really he took care of the simple things. He really did. He took care of the student athletes. He took care of everybody else. He doesn't say a lot about himself, but truly he's somebody that needs to be honored because he truly makes college athletics what college athletics is all about. And and he gives the student athletes an opportunity, gives an opportunity to come here and compete at the highest level, but also at the end of the day to really give them the resources to be a successful student and to graduate when they're all done.
And last thing for you, what do you think differentiates track at this level compared to some of the money sports like football and basketball?
I think when you look at time commitment, they're all the same. I mean, they all put in the same amount of time, they all put in the same amount of work. Maybe they just don't get the fan support that the other ones do, and the ticket sales, but it doesn't diminish anything that they've been able to accomplish. And to be honest, if you look at some of their accomplishments with 6 sports that are involved in our track and field program, they really are vitally important to how we finish in conference standings in the Learfield Directors Cup, because there's 6 different sports that get counted there. And so, their student athletes are from right here in the state of Montana, and they're also from the region. So they do a really good job of recruiting right here, right from home, to get them here to come to campus, but they also do a good job of drawing in the outstanding student athletes from the surrounding areas as well. And not only is that good for athletics in general, it's good for the campus as a whole.
So a big day for Coach Kennedy, a program that you've been around so much. He just mentioned that one of his favorite teams was the cross-country team that you were a part of in 2002, 2003. Can you talk about some of those memories from that team?
Yeah, there was a great group of guys on that team, and even the teams, there were some guys that graduated the year before, a couple years before, that were really part of building that momentum for that team. So yeah, we just had a great team camaraderie, and we're able to use it. I think maybe was perhaps our biggest strength, is that we really came together as a team, and we really went out there and we just really enjoyed ourselves and had fun and competed really well together.
Coach Kennedy's always talked about hanging his hat on making track a team sport. Can you talk about, it's the dichotomy between being an individual sport as well as a team sport, and kind of the importance that has here at Montana State?
Yeah, the elements of track and field are really amazing. There's different body morphologies, different personalities, and it all comes together to form a team. It's like Coach Kennedy always says, we practice at different times, doing different things, completely different training, but then we come together and form a team. And he's just always done a great job trying as much as possible to pull that team together. Just a lot of social activities, a lot of team activities, really trying to get the team to not just be 4 different sports, but to be one sport, track and field.
How has it been in your coaching career early on, having so many tenured coaches here like Tom and Mike and Dale? What kind of experience do you lean on with them?
Oh, it's been pretty amazing. Yeah, they were all coaches when I was here at MSU. So yeah, I mean, there was a bit of a transition because they were, an authority figure, and they still were an authority figure because they're tenured coaches. Coach Kennedy's the director of track and field, but then I transitioned from an athlete to being a coach. But I've just been really fortunate to have such incredible coaches to learn from and to watch and notice how they conduct themselves and how they treat others. So I've just been really fortunate.
And what do you think about Bozeman as a community? How does Bozeman as a community support this track and field program?
Well, there's the Bobcat Track and Field Association, which has just provided so much to our cross-country and track and field teams. And then beyond that, there's the running community as a whole really supports the distance runners and really gets into that active community. And also really supports the track team as a whole. Coach Kennedy has done an incredible job building a good relationship between the academics and the athletics. So a big part of the community here is obviously the university, and having that good relationship with the academic side of campus has just been great.
And yet what's going to happen at some point in time. You're not going to go forever, part of me wants to, the one thing that one of the dream shots is just to coach and not have to handle all the administrative stuff. Right. That you do so much of your time is just eaten alive with administrative work, and yet that has to happen. You can't have 90 kids in a program without somebody that's taking responsibility for that. And Lyle's been really a lot of help. I've really turned a lot of things over to him, not all of it. I've turned up significant amounts of stuff to him because he's so tech savvy. I mean, he can get things done. He can get done what takes me 6 hours, and he can get done in an hour, you know. I mean, that's embarrassing, but that's really the God's honest truth of it, you know, is that I'm doing this, and he's bam like that, and he's got it done, you know, so, yeah.
Well, I have a couple things for you. I've always respected and really looked up to your idea of running track as a team program. What about track being a team while being an individual sport differs it from other sports?
Well, I think that there's really a possibility for a team element in track and field, and I approach it that way at Montana State, as you mentioned, and I think it can also be an individual sport. It's team/individual or individual/team. We probably had a team/individual, and not that we were, I think we gave every individual that we could an opportunity to develop and grow to be the best that they could be, but I wanted them to understand that there was a family here. There were other kids on the team, and if they would take an interest in their teammates, that interest would come back to them, and within that we would develop a team culture, a camaraderie that I thought was really special. And I know that a lot of other programs have watched us after a meet with our team meeting, and the kids are sharing their season's best mark or their lifetime best mark with everybody else on the team. You get on our sport, and there's like 6 different things going on at once. So it's perfect for an ADD kid, you know, there's boom, boom, bam, we can do that. But so oftentimes they have no idea what their teammate has accomplished. And by having that gathering at the end of the meet and a team meal at the end of it, and they're sharing what happened, I think it really brought them together. They became really a team. There are 4 kind of separate families. You have a throws family, you have a jumps family, you got a sprint and hurdles family, you got a distance group, and they all train, interestingly, almost in anonymity of each other. They rarely are doing the same thing at the same time because of the unique demands of all those different 4 event areas. And so one of the goals I had and for our staff was to get that team connected. And the best teams that we've had, honestly, the championship teams really crossed event group lines, and they became connected. They became very aware of what those other event groups were doing. And I thought that was really a part of the chemistry and the culture that we've developed here.
I remember, I think maybe Coulter had spoken to you about in 1983 you guys won a conference championship, and you had mentioned that was the time where you realized maybe you could spend your whole career here. Yeah. What about that year convinced you of something, of those aspirations?
Yeah, you know, it was after 2 years, and we were here, and that was 83. We came in 81. That is correct. 83 was the year. And Terry and I just looked at each other one night at dinner and said, you know what? This is a great place to live. This is a great place to work. We're not trying to go anywhere else. And we never did try to go anywhere else. We just decided we would make Bozeman our home, and this would be it. And we tried to develop a program here. And my wife had the good fortune to have a job in mechanical engineering where she was a student advisor and had great interaction with faculty and with students, and so she enjoyed a really great career over there as well. And then she actually coached high school track for 12 years down there while she stayed with engineering too. So then she really got into what it felt like to be a coach. Our house was full of high school kids all the time from that point on for that 12-year period. But honestly, this just became home for us. And we don't plan to leave. We plan to stay here. We'll be here to support Bobcat Athletics. Of course, we have an affinity for track and field, obviously, and cross country, but yeah.
Can you talk about the influence that Terry had on your love of track, and kind of, you talked a little bit about the football, which I was familiar with, but I was very surprised to hear that she was such a star athlete. And can you talk about that, her influence on your track career?
It really was an influence. You know, our first job was at PL Washington. It had a small high school with about 80 kids in it, and I was coaching everything. I even helped with the basketball program then too. And we had our first child, Kim, our daughter, and at that point, and then had our son at Winlock 2 years later over at Winlock, which is a little bigger high school. And so the kids were born in Chehalis, Washington. And at that point, I was still coaching football, both schools, but started a cross-country program at Winlock. Didn't do that at PL, started one at Winlock. And after Terry had the kids, and we left after 2 years of Winlock, we came back home to Spokane and I started coaching and teaching at Central Valley High School, which was a school that I graduated from. And at that point, Terry was beginning to really start running again, and actually her best part of her national level career was after she'd had the 2 children. It was very interesting. We didn't know that or think that was possible at that time. Now we're finding out there's something after childbearing that they actually can exceed what they have done previously, and that was certainly the case for Terry. And so her coach was a U.S. Olympic team coach multiple times, a U.S. international team coach probably on 16 different occasions. And he grabbed me up. He realized, I think he thought I really could have some tools and could coach. And so I got an Olympic development program with him, and we traveled 6-7 weeks a summer putting on Olympic development camps all over the country. And he has been very influential. He and Terry probably, I owe so much to them for getting into the sport of into coaching track and field. I probably, had it not been for that, I probably would have been a high school football coach, taught history, biology, and physical education, because that's what I saw as I graduated. That's what I thought was going to help. I had this interest in track because my significant other, and then my wife, was really a good athlete, and I was very interested in that, in her development. And at that point in time, they didn't have school athletics for women. There weren't sports for women at that time, so it was all club. So we were burning the road from Spokane to Seattle, because that's the club that she was running with, and I became very connected to her coach, and we've kept a very close relationship to this very day, and he's turning 98 here in August, so and he's still going. Yeah. So that's kind of my mentor, my model. Yeah, we're still putting on development camps in the summertime.
You've had some teams that have recently been inducted into the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. What about some of the great teams you've had separates them from some of the teams you've had throughout the years? Well,
we've been fortunate to have some really great teams, and probably the thing I'm more proud of than the championships are that we've consistently been up in the top 3 or 4 teams in all 3 sports, cross country, indoor and outdoor track on both men's and women's sides. So we've been a team that I think that is a program that's recognized as a pretty solid program. I would like to have had more championships. We've come so close a couple of times, less than a point or a half a point one time, and even this year we were leading the conference championships right up to the 5,000, and I kind of knew we had to have a 20-point lead or better going into the 5, and we had about a 9-point lead. And Northern Arizona was their national championship cross-country team, stepped out there, and I think they got 6 or 7 of the 8 places, and it was kind of game over. And to our credit, our men's 4x4 came back and won the 4x4, but there wasn't enough ammunition to fire to get it done. But I'm just proud of how they've competed, how our kids have competed individually and collectively over the years. I'm probably most proud of that. And having a championship team is fun. I'm not saying it wasn't, okay? Probably the greatest one ever was the 2002 cross-country team, which finished 11th in the NCAA championships. We weren't supposed to win the conference championships. We upended Northern Arizona and Weber State on Idaho State's course down in Pocatello. 2 weeks later, we went to the regional, and we were the 5th team. We were an at-large team getting into the national meet. And there were 31 teams there, and they got 11th out of the 31, and they were an at-large team. They weren't even supposed to. They should have been down to 25 or between 25 and 30. Wow. And Lyle was the captain of our team. Casey Germain, who runs the Bozeman Running Company, was on it. It was all Montana kids except for one kid. We had one kid from Woodinville, Washington, Jonathan Gibson. All the other kids were Montana kids. And that really, and there's always been a connection about Montana kids, that we have thrived on kids from Montana. Doesn't mean we didn't recruit anybody else, but if you look at our roster, probably 80% of our kids most of the time are kids from Montana. I'd like to feel like we've really given those kids an opportunity to come here and get an education, first and foremost, but have a really great athletic experience that I think is one that will have an impact on the rest of their lives.
And last thing for you, I know it's so fresh, and you're still going to be here through the summer and into the fall, but would you hope in the next 5 years, couple decades, your legacy would be at this institution and at this program?
I'm not too concerned about that. That would be nice. That's something I don't have any control over. I've done what I could do up to this point in time. I hope to have some connection with Bobcat Athletics down the road. It's hard for me to think that I'm going to live over here less than a mile away and not still have some connection with Bobcat Athletics.
Wonderful.